Welcome to Tech Hub. I'm Steven.
AP.
I'm Jared.
Well, welcome, guys.
Welcome.
It's been some time.
It has.
Has been.
Yeah. What's going on?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah?
Yourself?
I'm great. You guys
Well,
ready to
I'm
talk
So
about
good.
a cool topic?
Well,
Yes.
you know what? It's funny. You came up to me today with a topic. I was like, "What do you want to do again?" Wait,
Jared's
what?
That's
favorite.
how impromptu we are.
Jared's.
What should we talk
it was
about
Jared's topic of the day.
Yes.
He usually has one. I want to say 8 times out of 8, it's
It's a good topic.
no. I don't even know if I can say the word. I don't really have a word for
let's
it.
not.
It was a thought and went away. But no, this one
you
was
got?
pretty interesting. You know, something that when I was in construction, I did a lot manually, and I'll never forget. I was about 20 years old. Went to my first job site. Really, really blustery day. Opened up the door, and then all of a sudden, all these sheets of paper that were tied up on the bulletin board just went poof. And I thought that I was going to get buried in one of the trenches because the super was mad.
So you're talking about pole planning using Post-it notes.
Pole planning using Post-it notes.
Yes.
Exactly. And it just
Everybody's
like,
favorite.
it's one of those things you open up the door and like the wind just wanted to push it right through the trailer and it just ripped everything out of there. And I was mad. And it was funny that you,
Yeah. Let's dive in. I mean, it's a great topic because construction is messy.
no.
Yeah.
It is
I know.
not. It's so
It's
clean. There's no
unorganized.
dust. There's no
it's
dirt.
messy. And I was just kind of in my head, I was thinking like, well, how do we enter this thing? I think there's so many ways to track time. I'm curious, what do you guys use?
Nothing.
A clock.
kidding.
Of course. He's like,
Yeah. Tracking
I mean-
issues, assignments.
do you sticky notes? Do you use Trello? What do you guys use? I mean, there's so many.
I use my Outlook calendar for most of my stuff. It helps. I have access to it on many different pieces of equipment. I can get it through my iPhone, my iPad, my computer, my virtual machine.
Yeah. I think I can count 4 off the top of my
Yeah.
head. Outlook, OneNote.
OneNote, that's another great tool.
Jira, our
Yep.
favorite. And then my Autodesk notebook that I write all by hand.
It's the standby, right?
Yeah.
It's the go-to, right? It's the
Writing notes down.
yeah. I think, and I was thinking again. I was like, okay, well, what in construction? Again, there's a lot of unknowns, messy as we said.
Mm-hmm.
But what about a to-do list in construction makes it different? What has to be different? The thing that really, in a collaborative environment, especially a job site, there has to be accountability.
Right.
There has to be.
Of course.
And the tools we use to manage our tasks, there isn't. I mean, it's based on us. We either do it or we
absolutely.
don't do it.
Yeah.
Nobody's checking us.
Yeah. Well, that's the biggest hurdle, right? Is there's not any insight as to
None. Zero.
where the status is or who's accountable. You know, there's no organization to
You
it.
could
all.
verbally say, "Oh yeah, I'll be there on Tuesday." Never show up.
Never show up.
But oh, he told me he was going to be here on Tuesday. I never told you. Now you have a he said, she said type of thing.
Mhm. Yeah, big hurdle, right? I mean that
Causes
not
fights.
not a construction project you hear about that doesn't happen on. So
Yeah.
I mean, directly applicable, and I think that's the lead into where we're going today.
And I've seen the last probably 16 months since we introduced BIM 360 plan.
Wait, another BIM 360?
I know. There's another one.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of interest in just kind of the dog turns his head like, what is this? A way to organize a set of tasks, resources,
Yep.
just that's not there today. There really isn't anything that.
So Jared, this is like P6.
This is not like P6. We will say it many times. This is not P6. That's a very good topic, by the way. But this is
Couldn't help
not
myself
P6. That's
I
awesome.
saw on the board. It said, "Don't say
Yeah,
P6."
right.
Whack the hand. It is not P6.
Right.
And I think the other thing about BIM 360 plan, it's not just for lean.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly if you're a lean practitioner, this tool makes a lot of sense because a lot of things that we do here that if you're using lean fits right into place. But it's, as we found out, right, and I think this is something we want everybody to know, is it's kind of the Swiss Army knife of construction management, time allocation tools.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
whether you're an architect, maybe you could tell that story.
Yeah,
Architect
I mean, I've talked to a couple architects now, not I think three
Yeah.
or four that really were just looking for, again, a tool that can provide some insight as to where they're at in not just one specific project, but across their team and extended teams, all their projects, providing one interface that basically people can, log in, be able to see where they're at, what
Yep.
assignments are actively being worked on, what's in the near future. And that's one of the biggest points of Plan is that it's not necessarily that huge ecosystem outlook. You can really manage it into more bite-sized chunks, so you
Yep.
can see, usually what we recommend 6 weeks out
6
outlook.
weeks, 6 to 9 weeks,
Right.
yeah, usually in there. Yeah.
But nonetheless, the architectural firms that I talk to really just wanted to organize exactly that throughout the design process, throughout their deliverables,
Yep.
basically who is working on what. And that's something that provides a lot of flexibility in Plan. You can really customize the work breakdown structure any which way you
it's
want.
beautiful. I love
Yeah.
that. I mean, I love the fact that it's extensible to any way that you or your team works.
Right. Yep.
And again, back to the cloud, because now we're able to share this in
You're
the
able
cloud
to grab it anywhere.
anywhere.
And the thing is, it's adaptable. You're talking about architecture firms and design firms, and you're looking at, you could schedule out your own entire design project. You could look at a small to medium business, or you could look at the 10-story hotel, retail, apartment building that's going up behind us. Doesn't matter. You can do it. You can do it all.
Right.
Just as long as you have something that you need to track, that you need to plan for.
Right.
And the other thing too, I think back on this whole accountability piece, because there are certain things in Plan that really do hinge upon accountability. So
Yep.
a task is a task. We also can track milestones. We can track inspections, any deliveries for the projects.
Yep.
We can specifically say this is a delivery that's showing up on a Saturday. We can track that. But we track statuses of tasks too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, we're in the trailer, and I'm across from my team. I'm the superintendent, and I'm trying to get a better understanding of, hey, my mechanical contractor, you're on the second floor. Are you going to commit to getting this work done by the end of the
I
week?
don't know if I want to commit on that one.
I look to you, and in BIM 360 Plan, I actually have to collect whether or not you commit or whether it's still an open task. And
Right.
that goes back to this whole accountability.
Yeah.
And if you, Mr. Foreman of the mechanical contractor, tell me that I'm committing to this task and it's marked as commit and it doesn't get done, I've got you, because
Right.
I can then go back and say it's an incomplete task. And why is it incomplete? Because
The root cause.
the root cause, which we do track again, is because of work not available or whatever it is.
So let me ask you this question, because right now, that root cause would come out of your superintendent's daily reports.
Correct.
So essentially, it doesn't matter how that information gets to the individuals in charge of the planning, whether it comes from handwritten reports or maybe there's an application that's digital. I think we might have one they can do daily reports in, checklists, tasks. Maybe that's a subject for another time. But it doesn't matter how you get the information, as long as it's there and as long as it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's
Organized, central,
organized,
easy to
central. No,
easy to
it's,
access.
I'm drawing a total blank.
Ham sandwich?
Couldn't tell
Ham
you.
sandwich. That's what it's
Awesome.
ham sandwich for everybody.
I knew it.
Every time.
It's just crystal clear. It is.
Right.
It is completely open. There's no hiding. Everybody knows what
Right.
they're going to be accountable for, and that's important.
Transparency.
Transparency, not
Ding, ding.
ham sandwich.
Yes.
Not ham sandwich.
No,
But
you're
that's
close.
it,
I'm not
right?
against ham sandwiches.
That is like the biggest thing. If we're talking about this, everything is transparent,
Yeah.
right? And nobody's hiding from a task that does not get completed.
Totally.
But I think the good thing about this is if you're managing your timeline, you're managing your resources, you're managing everything as tightly as we can do it in Plan, you're basically pulling waste, which is the lean term, out of your schedule. And
Right.
who doesn't want to do that? Who wants to end up, 3 or 4 weeks, potentially a month or more ahead of schedule?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's the really goodness that can come out of using a tool like this.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, right? Providing that level of insight. For me, one of the biggest things with this tool is it almost drives a culture change completely around the dynamic,
That's a great
right?
point, yeah.
It holds that level of accountability to be able to reference project percent reports.
Yep.
Be able to see what subcontractors, what contractors are behind or ahead. No one wants to be on that board looking ugly. It is exactly that high overview insight for that level of
And
accountability.
you're saying you don't want to be on the bad list?
You don't want to be on the naughty list.
Oh, the naughty list.
Yeah,
Santa Claus.
definitely.
And we definitely will show the reporting engine. I think not only for a specific project insight, but also in the future. So if you just rolled off a project and you had a collection of subs and you're able to insight into some of those subs just weren't performing.
Right.
You've got a pursuit that you're going after would maybe look a lot like this other project.
Mm-hmm.
You could reach out and grab those same subs, but here you have the insight now of a 3-year project where they didn't perform.
You have diagnostics across everybody you work with.
Absolutely. So you're gonna pony up to some other trade that can service you better.
Well, exactly. I mean, in the construction industry, you're as good as the last job that you did. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that part of the culture will ever change, but this helps show that, I mean, you're out there providing a service and you're building a product, and you want to be transparent about what you're doing, and you want to be able to provide the best product you can so it continues. And that's just business 101. This helps drive a better behavior, because now this allows the general contractor, the BIM manager, the VDC, the owner to say, okay, no more messing around. We really need to get we really need to get this on track. And then once everything is moving like a well-oiled machine, you're able to hop to that next building and not have to deal with the issues and the rework and you say waste. Waste is rework. Waste is money.
Yeah, big time. Absolutely. That's the name of the game, right? So let's get off the job sooner. Let's maybe there's incentive for finishing earlier. That's involved in the contract. Use something like this to actually manage that process.
Yep.
And it's not just for general contract. We said that we have architects that use this.
Totally. Yep.
We have trades that use this. Foremen that are part of the whole process. I mean, this is it really is. It's kind of a sleeper in the BIM 360 portfolio.
Definitely. Yep.
I really believe that. It's the Swiss Army knife of planning tools.
Yeah.
And we'll say it again. It's not P6.
It's on the board.
No, but you're right? Some of the aspects of plan that differentiate, one thing I like about this is it really drives a conversation in a lot of instances too.
Awesome.
Because it doesn't have the necessary contingent logic built within. You really need to stay on top of the week over week, day over day. But again, when you're failing to meet requirements, or on the other end, getting ahead of schedule, it's really a good tool to be able to communicate that in a central location.
Absolutely. I mean, can't say more about it. I think we've done a good job. I think the other thing is what I like to say about this dynamic between the master schedule, which you could be using P6, and
that's on the board.
The planning tool like BIM 360 Plan. Mm-hmm. What I like to say is the master schedule is really the contractual commitment from a contractor to their customer, the owner. And it really outlines the time frame of when that project starts and finishes. BIM 360 Plan is how you do it. Mm-hmm. BIM 360 Plan is how you fill in the blanks and to get to that point.
Right.
It's really filling in the spots and saying this needs to go here or there to meet this deadline.
Definitely.
It's providing a deeper insight into what that master construction plan is and allowing you to get more granular.
Absolutely.
And dial down and go to that individual tasks that will help give insight on why a task in that master plan all of a sudden moved the critical plan.
Great point.
Or if a task that was never supposed to be in the critical plan all of a sudden now is part, or a critical path, and now people are wondering, well, why is this there? Oh, it's because there was no people on the site for 3 days because we had 4 feet of snow or something like that, or whatever it could be.
That's in our master plan got pushed because there was a bunch of small little things that didn't get done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or some small things that happened at the beginning of the project. Maybe we had a really wet season and you couldn't really backfill because everything was wet. Yeah. Well, now the painter is getting in there late because it took so long just to get everything, because everything one task leads to another, and why does the painter only have 2 weeks? Oh, because we lost 3.5 weeks at the front end of the thing, and we got to make up time somewhere. And now you can understand that and actually have data that backs you up, and I think that's quite important.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't sound familiar at all in construction or design.
It never happens.
It takes 10 weeks, get it done in 4.
One thing you brought up, Stephen, critical path. So I think there's a real quick diversion here. We want to make sure that that folks understand. Critical path CPM solutions have direct logic ties in them, which means basically tasks are tied together. Any separation of time or gap or whatever between those tasks that's honored by the system remains that.
Right.
We don't have critical path in BIM 360 plan. So it's a
Right.
very important concept. I think,
Mhm.
again, when we're talking about this, just we need to be very cognizant of the fact that the master schedule is a full-blown CPM solution like P6, but this is not. And we have soft logic ties in plan that basically allow you as reference points between those trades, between the contractor, to understand that basically I have a dependency upon you to get into this workspace or this crew, whatever it is.
Yep.
So it's just a good clarification, but yeah, this topic we could talk about all day about this. This is awesome.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's the one thing that drives the construction site. It's the plan. It's who does what and when and where and how you do it. Sites are tight, especially when you get into these urban sites like what we have behind us in downtown Denver here, where, I mean, you have to be able to have that coordination, have that dynamic, and know where people are and when, and keep them accountable. When I was working for a utility contractor in Boston, I remember going into a couple of job meetings and just getting ready to get just completely destroyed because we didn't have the crew on the job site. We had them somewhere else. And, well, why? Well, because we were delayed.
Right.
Why were you delayed? And now you have that data. As opposed to an owner being like, why? Well, now you have the answer to that why, and that's really important.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. Providing that insight, driving those conversations so that it isn't just getting blindsided, right? I know how many people from X crew are in Z location, right? So
Exactly.
that's one of the good features there.
So I think this is a better time than ever to actually show what this is and what it does. And it's a pretty intuitive interface, I would think. I picked it up pretty quick.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
Yeah, I'm happy to go into and talk about. I think when I look at this, we really have accommodated a couple different ways that people interact with data.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a spreadsheet lover, if you like spreadsheets, you like aligning columns, you like moving things around, you like a bunch of data on your view, we've got that.
Yep.
We've got it for you. But the best thing about this is you're also able to mass select. And then let's say, for example, you're working in the first floor and you've got a work breakdown that you've basically aligned for that specific floor. I can copy all those. I can then push them ahead 40 to 50 days for that second floor.
Right.
So
That's awesome.
I can build my plan organically by just simple steps and copying scopes of work to other floors.
So wait, you wouldn't do like the second floor or the third floor the same way you did the second? You'd change everything up?
You can do whatever you want.
Oh, see,
It's a magical land.
I was driving you to that, and that's what I like. You can do whatever you want.
Certainly, you can change. You have a location structure, you have a work breakdown structure
Right.
that you can leverage. But the point is, if you like this view of having a giant spreadsheet, go for it. Knock
Right.
yourself out. If you like what I call the fat finger view, where you just want to see big, thick scopes of time as bars with nice, pretty colors, we've got that for you too. So it's the swim lane view, but it allows designated swim lanes of work. So we've got that as well. And all this is draggable on the iPad, all the stuff that you come to expect from a modern user interface. And then the last view is really the Gantt view.
Yeah.
And every time I bring the Gantt view up in a demo, if there's a scheduler in the room, I hear this,
Sigh of relief.
yeah, thank God.
Yep.
It's a way to accommodate both kind of this swim lane view as well as this more traditional spreadsheet view. But it's where we can also draw connections, like we talked about, those loose logic ties.
With the soft logic ties,
Yeah.
where when you move something, it's not actually pulling the other portion of it
Correct.
or whatever is in front of it. Unlike the tools like P9, on the board, that would have that hard logic where you move something and it drags whatever else is associated with it, but that's not exactly what's happening on the job site. So this gives you a better insight of real time what's going on.
Yeah, I say it a lot. I mean, we don't want a machine telling us potentially that we can't get into that workspace when we potentially could. And that's how we talked about getting all this waste out of the schedule. I mean, if a machine's managing our time, that workspace is ready to go. Why don't I just get my crew in there today?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Let's go do it. So
Definitely.
that's how you recoup the time.
So that's great. You know, you're able to do this dynamic scheduling and get all this data. What good is data without the good old reports?
Yeah, like we talked about a little bit, right? The greatest thing about Plan is these reports are dynamic. We have a couple other solutions in the BIM 360 portfolio where you have to run tasks.
Yeah.
That's fine. They are definitely robust, but I can instantly update something in the solution and potentially have something come from an iPad that's connected to the cloud, and I get to see that information immediately in the report.
Right.
And I get to see reports on, as you said earlier, I get to see, which contractor isn't doing their work. I get to see a grade based on a plan percent complete. Simple math of how much of what I've said I've done I've actually completed.
Right.
I get to see, any potential pitfalls in anything around a location. Maybe I've got, as you said, I've got a really tight space I'm dealing with. I got a lot of incomplete tasks.
Mm-hmm.
Work not being available because we're working around this limitation on the site. All that stuff gets exposed in the reporting engine. It's awesome.
So you can see the good and the bad.
And the bad. It's almost as important as just the good, right?
Everybody says you always forget when I do good, but never forget when I do bad. But it's good to be able to see that, and you see that contractor that's got that high PPC.
Yeah.
But say midway through the project, you're like, well, perfect,
Well,
awesome.
I think more than anything, you want the truth. What's actually going on, right?
You don't want just sunshine
Fluff
and
is
flowers.
great, but just see what's actually going on. Yeah. So.
Yeah. No, it's. I love this topic. I think it's great. Let's evangelize. Make sure everybody understands what it is. We're here to help. I mean, I think
Absolutely.
that's the other thing too. If you guys need help, demos, questions about it, it is literally as we said, this is not just for the general contractor using Lean.
Totally.
This is for anybody who wants to really meticulously plan out and understand, resources, tasks associated with work,
Right.
etc.
Right.
So
That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
yeah,
Well, thanks. This has been insightful, and it's fun. Brings me back to the construction days. Brings you back to your architecture
Your
days.
20s.
Planning days.
I'm still in there ish. Thanks for watching again.
Thanks, guys.
Questions, concerns, feedback, let us know, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks.